So you're probably wondering why such a big guy would buy such a small Jeep. Well, there's a lot of reasons why we bought this Jeep. For one, we got a pretty decent price. And for another, it came with a brand new frame underneath it. I mean, the guy that I bought it from literally took everything apart and off of here and put a brand new frame underneath it. I even have the pictures to prove it. Now, another thing that he did to this thing is he took the tub off, and while the tub was off, he actually fixed all the floorboards and he put everything down. He used professional paint. He even painted the hardtop up here just so everything would be taken care of, and looks pretty nice. Now, the only problem I have with this hardtop is this one little spot right up in here. It's got this typical crack that happens from when people slam the door. So if you take the door and slam it too hard, after a while it just cracks right there. So yeah, don't do that. Now the lock does get a little fidgety, so sometimes I have to fiddle with the key, and then I have to hold this button down right here just to get this to stay unlocked or locked for that matter. So yeah, I got to be careful with that at night. And of course, these seat belts love to get in the way. Now, I am in search of a new seat because this is the way my seat looks right now. And I put these the cheapest seat covers I could find at O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and bought these. They're like 40 bucks for both sides, but this seat's just falling apart. So I am on the hunt for a decent, either a seat bottom or an actual seat that fits this 2000 TJ. Now, it's been a pretty fun project so far. Now, this is what he's done under here. He's got all this nice matting in here. He's taking care of all the damage that was done previously, and these things love to rust out. So we're in pretty good shape. Now, the first thing we did to this Jeep right away when I got it, I noticed it didn't have a very good heater. So that was the first job that we did. I tore the entire dashboard apart, and it only took me a few hours to get the dashboard out of it. And then, not to mention that, you know, I had to take everything out. I do have a mobile mechanic. He comes over and he helps me with all my projects right now. He's over here working on my brakes on my minivan. But we got all this out. So the dashboard, the complete disassembly of the dashboard took about 2 to 3 hours, and everything was out of the car. The steering wheel did stay in place. I did not have to remove the steering wheel. I didn't have to undo the clock spring or anything like that. I did have to remove the center console. That was kind of a mind bender, pain in the butt, but I was lucky enough that this shift knob down here, this little shift knob actually comes off, unlike most of them, which are put on with like the force of a freaking gorilla. But overall, I'm really happy with this small Jeep. Now, another really cool thing about this Jeep is we have power windows on both sides of the Jeep. I mean, all I have to do is just push a button and these windows come down automatically, and then they go right back up in the same fashion, just like this. But joking aside, yeah, I can reach the other side of the Jeep, no problem. That's a wonderful thing. I love that. Now, when we bought this, we did buy it with a little tick in the motor. I don't remember the original price. I probably have it somewhere around, but me and the wife went for a drive, driving this Jeep around, and even before I could get around a complete block out in Birchwood, we got our first Jeep Wave. Now, I'm not used to driving Jeeps. I'm also not used to getting a Jeep Wave, so I thought that was kind of fun. It kind of like makes you feel like you're part of the club and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a Jeep thing. Now, this little ducky here on the dashboard, this little thing, I don't know if he ever got ducked before, but this came with the vehicle, so I just kind of leave this thing sit up here on the dashboard and it just bounces around. Now, another one of the problems I've been having is this stereo in here. For some reason, it just keeps saying miswiring, and I'm guessing it's because in the side here, these speakers just aren't attached correctly, which is a little bit of a pain in the butt, and that's okay. But I mean, look behind me here. You can see out all the windows. It's so small, and I'm basically sitting on the rear axle which is kind of cool. I got the seat all the way back. I wish I could go back another 3 inches. It would make it perfect. But right now, we are on a mission to hunt for this freaking ticking sound, and we replaced a lot of parts already. So we're gonna get this thing started up, and I'm gonna try to get my microphone somewhere up inside the motor, and hopefully we can find this ticking sound, because it might actually be easier to find on the audio of the video than it is to actually hear with our own ears inside. I've found that some of these other ticking issues were easier to find on other people's videos, and we could hear it better when people, you know, just held the microphone in specific places while the motor was running. So, I mean, wish us luck. And we do have a distributor right now. We're gonna try to put the new distributor in today, and that might cure the problem and it might not, because we took the distributor out yesterday and I took a couple photos of the shaft that runs the oil pump down on the bottom, and for some reason it's pretty shaved off on both sides, and on some of the on the screw it's also shaved off a little bit, and I'm not sure what's going on there, but it's got plenty of oil pressure. So we're gonna get this thing fired up. We're gonna poke around on the inside of the motor, and I guess we'll just go from there, and we'll talk some more about this super fun little project we got going on here. Oh, now she sounds really, really good. And yeah, the heater works now, which is a definite plus. But does anybody else have a problem with the frost on the inside of the windshield? Now, I get a lot of condensation in here, so I leave the windows cracked once in a while to keep the roof from condensating. And of course, right now we don't have any condensation because it got so cold last night. Things kind of dried out a little bit. But right now, I'm not really hearing that ticking sound that I'm accustomed to hearing. Now, you see we got really good oil pressure going on. We have some of that high dollar Alaskan fuel in there. You got plenty of voltage. The RPM's up just a little bit high. That's just because it's the initial startup. And let's see if I can get some noise out of it from in here with the, I'll shut this heater completely off for right now. Let's see what happens. I'm really not hearing any ticking right at the moment. There it is. Okay, now I can hear the ticking. But does your Jeep come with a wiggle knob? I mean, my Jeep's got this wiggle knob here. I'm not sure what all these numbers are, and I think that stands for race. I mean, so I can go forward really slow and forward a little quicker and so on. And this is a 2.5 liter motor, by the way, so I'm not sure. I think this R stands for race, so that this thing can go way faster than what this little 2.5 motor does. So I just jam it right in there, and then boom, we're just taking off. But anyway, let's get out and poke around and see what we can find as far as this tick goes, because this thing is driving me absolutely bonkers. So, let's see what we got here. I'll hold the mic down over on this side. Right here, it sounds like the noise is coming from this side of the motor. Everything looks pretty good. Now, another thing we did do an AC delete on this motor, so that makes for a whole lot more fun when working on this. And we're going to get this microphone down on this one so you can hear that sound. Yeah, I'm hoping it's just the distributor. If it is, it's going to save me a ton of money, because the next thing's going to be dropping the oil pan, checking the bearings, looking around for piston slap, checking for piston parts in the oil pan and stuff like that. All right, so let's go over the stuff that I've gotten done to this Jeep so far. Like I said, we did the heater core. That was a fun job. All of this stuff was just incredibly fun to get to because it's all on the firewall. Now we had to take the computer out to get everything done. The battery's got to come out. My favorite part of this project was deleting the AC. Now, when I was taking this battery out, the previous owner, he installed the AC, and it wasn't quite fitted on there correctly. So when I went to take the battery out, I bumped the AC line, which goes in right here. And that created a problem because as soon as I hit that AC line, it was like it just blew all the pressure back this way. And this whole area was just covered with neon yellow freaking alien blood. And I was covered in it too. So that just made everything extra special. So I got a hose out to rinse everything off, and everything's been pretty good so far. I mean, but overall, the guy that had it before, he did a super good job detailing the inside of this motor. And from my previous experience, when you're buying a used vehicle, when that much attention has gone into it, like this radiator, I mean, it looks brand new. And this looks like a brand new radiator cap, but I don't know. So it doesn't use any oil so far, and it hasn't used any coolant, so that's been nice. We got some new components up in here, and the clutch cylinder, everything there is all brand new. So we're looking pretty good there. Now, another thing that I noticed is this front fender here took a little bit of damage right here. I'm not sure. This is pretty typical damage that we find up here in Alaska. You know, these fenders, nice part about it is these things are solid frickin' metal. And I was thinking of taking these off and putting some flat fenders on, but yeah, I don't know. We might just leave it like it is. And of course, we got the typical rust here, which is always lovely. So I'm going to have to tend to this because that's actually probably peeking up through the bottom side there. But overall, it's a really nice looking Jeep. It's super fun to drive. And it's also gone on a rescue mission, you know, right away. Now, a couple more nice features of this Jeep that I like. He did install this little door here. I didn't know if I was gonna like that gas door, but it seems to work out pretty well. And it definitely keeps the riffraff from just getting in there and stealing my gas in the middle of the night. So I do need to change these tires. But as you can see down here, this frame, holy cow, yeah, that sun, this frame is brand new. I mean, there is zero rust on that frame. Not at all, because it's a brand new frame. Everything down there looks great. Got brand new bushings on the front. I mean, yeah, overall, I can't complain. Now, I did hear that this Jeep was a little dirty whore, and it's been passed around to the Jeep community up here in Alaska. So, I mean, there's a potential that other Jeepers up here might see this video and recognize this Jeep. Maybe you can comment down below and say, hey, I had that Jeep, and I either loved it or I hated it. But, you know, these little 2.5 liter Jeeps are they're just fun. I mean, not a lot of horsepower and not really a lot to complain about. Now, the nicest thing about this Jeep is I can work on everything. I mean, they're just super easy to work on. We can rebuild the motor right inside the frame, so I'm not too worried about that. But we're still going to try to figure out this frickin' sound. And at some point, I want to get a winch for this, and if I have to, I'll just replace this motor. I mean, it's not a big deal. A couple $1,000s, I guess. I mean, whatever. But it's a brand new frame, and that's like 90% of the Jeep right there is a frame, and it's got a halfway decent tub on it. So yeah, overall, it's just super clean. I mean, for an Alaska Jeep, that's a pretty cool sticker. Now, I've had this Jeep for a few weeks, and I haven't even noticed that. This is Jeep in Alaska. That's pretty nice. I like that. No complaints here. But as you can see underneath, everything looks pretty darn good. I mean, as far as the steering is, the thing drives really, really straight, super straight. I haven't had a problem with this thing swerving. And that was something that the previous owner mentioned, was that it swerves a lot. Now, it does have the inexpensive rough country lift under it. So it's got a couple inch lift there, and then it's probably got a couple, you know, cheap lift for body puck to raise the body up a little bit. But I don't know what super lift is. I've never heard of super lift, so I'm guessing that's just you know, like a hockey puck type lift kit to try to get this thing up higher. But I mean, if you guys could do yourselves a favor, just skip buying the rough country suspension. I mean, it works. It's definitely affordable, but I would not recommend that suspension, especially if you got to drive down these washboard roads we have here in Alaska, because it just makes for a pain in the butt. Now these little pucks here, I don't know what these are, if these are just something, if it's part of that super lift he was talking about, or if these were part of something else, because I've seen other TJs around town. They don't look anything like that. What else have we done under the hood? Well, we took this apart, we took the valve cover off, we replaced all the parts on the top side. Now the previous owner did replace the hydraulic lifters down below, and we went through all of that. I took pictures of the old parts, because once we started checking all the parts in here, we noticed a lot of wear on things. So, and we did double check the torque specs on everything that was under the hood, and that appeared to be okay. So we're just gonna see what we can find today, and hopefully we can get this thing to stop ticking. That'd be great, because I really don't want to drop that oil pan right now and mess with anything else at this point, because it's winter time and it's freaking cold out here. We're gonna cruise around and follow these dudes around, see if we can see where they're heading off to. Yeah, man, this is Alaska. We're just cruising around through this trailer park, and we got a couple moose right here. We're gonna run them out of the neighborhood. Hopefully, no, they don't get into any kids or anything like that. But all right, good times. Yeah, you never know when you're gonna see wildlife here in Alaska, guys. Just never know when. So yeah, it could be anywhere. But you know, this here is a trailer park, and quite often there's kids out here. But today is kind of cold, so it's a good thing there's no kids out here. And I just wanted to make sure the moose got out of here safely and didn't bug anybody. So, all right. Well, okay, we're gonna have to delay the new distributor idea. The mechanic did have a new distributor. It was a brand new distributor, and it wasn't a remanufactured one. And we think there's something wrong with the new crank sensor, because we set the timing twice and we couldn't get it to work. We tried to start it, it sounded like it was way out of time. And we said, okay, let's put the old distributor back in and see what happens. And first try, we put the old distributor back in, and this is me right now just taking a ride around some of the Anchorage neighborhoods, just trying to, you know, make sure everything's gonna be fine. So if I want to use this thing for work on Monday, I'll be able to just go in and fire it up. But no big deal. It's just one of those crappy deals where sometimes you get a brand new part that's not gonna work. This has happened to me several times with different parts, all kinds of different parts up here in Alaska. Sometimes they're remanufactured parts, and sometimes they're brand new parts. And, you know, hey, whatever, it's just part of life. But the one thing I love about this Jeep is it's just so much fun to drive, even though it makes some freaking funny noises. I really don't mind it that bad. It's not that big of a deal. You know, people see me coming and they see this Jeep coming and they just smile and wave. And, you know, they might not even own a Jeep. So, yeah, it's just a lot of fun to drive. It turns on a dime. And so far, I've been able to drive it a few hundred miles round trip just to, you know, get out to rescue my wife and some people when they were out on a hunting trip. It wasn't that big of a deal. I mean, the Jeep did pretty well. I was kind of impressed, especially with these old, I believe they're Goodyear tires, but yeah, they're pretty worn out. They got some cracks in between the tread and stuff like that. But so far they're round and they roll, and if I can, I'm gonna try to get it through winter time with these old tires on here. I'm just going to be using it for driving around in the city for the most part, and I'll hope to upgrade these tires by next spring around tax time, have something a little bit better to put on this vehicle. But you can probably hear that noise, and it's kind of annoying, but when I get this vehicle up to speed, it just doesn't really make any noise at all, so it's not that big of a deal. Now we're going to turn right here and get this thing going a little bit quicker. There we go. Whee! All right. That is all she's got. As much power as I can give to her. And I'm doing about 30 miles an hour. I mean, just flooring it. It's not that bad, but speed limit's 30 anyway, so we're doing all right. The one nice thing that I do love about this Jeep is it keeps up, even with the lack of horsepower. It just seems to keep up with the traffic around me here in the city. Now, if I get out on the highway, I mean, I'm pushing this thing pretty damn hard to get it to go where it needs to go, and that kind of stinks. Now, I don't know if you guys can notice, but Alaska roads have these ruts. So when you put these lifts on these Jeeps tend to wander a little bit, and I'm not giving hardly any input at all to the steering, so it's just, I mean, it's driving fine. I don't even have my hands on the steering right now, and I'm not having a problem. But if I accelerate and let off, it tries to, you know, swerve a little bit, but it's not so bad that it makes me complain. Now, even when I drove it from Anchorage out to Big Lake, it really wasn't that big of a deal. I was worried about it just because I only had it for less than a week, and then I had to go on a long trip with it, so I didn't even have a chance to go through any nuts and bolts or, you know, really check anything out on this Jeep before I had to go take it on a long road trip. So that kind of worried me a little bit, but it wasn't too big of a deal. Now, the fun part about this thing is it came with this nice little handyman jack on the hood. That's really nice to have, especially if you get a flat tire or you got to jack yourself up, or maybe a buddy out of some mud. And these things are really handy. Now, when I went and did that rescue, I have another handyman jack that I threw in the back just in case I needed two that day, and that was the one I used. This one's about 4 foot. The one I used in the recovery, that was about a 5 foot handyman jack. Super helpful, especially up here when you got peat bogs everywhere and the car sinks down. But I would recommend bringing a piece of plywood with you, as the base of these jacks aren't very wide. So I brought 2 pieces of plywood with us out there, and everything worked out for the better. Okay guys, here's where we're at. We got the new distributor put in, and we're driving it around right now, and I'm pretty happy with the amount of horsepower and responsiveness it has compared to beforehand. Now, that noise is still there, I mean, which is really unfortunate, but you know, that's kind of what happens when you're doing a search and destroy mission, just trying to replace parts and, you know, hopefully find the problem. So the next step in this process is gonna be taking the oil pan, dropping it down, and doing a further inspection of everything here. So it is what it is. We were successful in getting it running again with a different distributor, and we definitely have some benefits here as far as performance, so I can't complain there. The old distributor looked like it was just completely worn out and damaged. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how everything's going, and is what it is, guys. So we'll see what happens when we drop the oil pan, and that will probably be a while because it's winter time and I don't really feel like dropping an oil pan in the winter, and I don't have an indoor garage to take care of this right at the moment. So we're just gonna have to probably wait until springtime. If something happens with this vehicle, I'll just park it and use another one. But yeah, that's all part of the fun of building Jeeps. This guy's pretty cool here on the side. He just sings and stuff like that. So, and yeah, he's a pretty cool dude. He's out here doing his panhandling thing, and that's okay, because that's what people do these days. But anyways, yeah, if you could subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment down below, let us know what you think, and yeah, we'll get an updated video coming to you. All right, guys, until next time.